Welcome to episode number 56 of Hoop Talk Fanatics. I am here with my co-host Chris Kern, and we have a loaded show as college basketball is gearing up, and we have had some fantastic matchups already in the past couple of days, and I'm looking forward to uh, your thoughts on all the action and everything else.
Definitely, yeah. I think a big storyline that we've seen in the media and people talking about is kind of a lot of people are just kind of talking down and being disappointed in some of the lack of big games that we've seen. It's not super uncommon, but I feel like past years there's a couple more big games. But I mean, Thanksgiving week we have a ton of good games, and like this coming week, even this
Mhm.
weekend we have some good ones. So like they get better. It's just teams trying to get a feel for things before they really get super tested because we know how important games are. But there were a few really good games. Like if you're looking at the teams, it's not like notable, standing out, pop worthy, but there were some really good games that we're going to be able to discuss as we get into this, and I'm excited to do that.
So I came up with some notes on the Nova game and the James Madison game, as well as the Auburn Baylor game.
That
Uh,
was a great game.
so the the notes that I wrote out was Jacoby Walker had scored 15 of his last 28 points in the second half, which was huge for Baylor. Um, I was really impressed with the offensive side of things for them. They definitely they definitely knocked it out of the ballpark with
He
everything.
was really good. He was really good because sorry to cut you off, but like he was a guy that kind of the big recruit, one of their top guys because they don't bring much back from last season. They brought
Mhm.
Jalen Bridges back. He had 13 points, 8 rebounds. He'll have better games when he needs to, but having a freshman guy who can take over ball games for you and help you get a big win is super impressive, and they're going to need that this season. So really good to see him get off to a good start.
Yeah. What do you think about Denver Jones having that clutch 3-pointer with 19 seconds left?
That was a big play. Just having guys that you can trust make shots like that's what it comes down to. And like, yeah, it was super cool. Really good stuff. It's just that's what college basketball is all about.
Hmm.
There's so much about game planning and like getting your players in position and like running your sets, playing good defense. But at the end of the day, to win a lot of these big games, people will talk about and they remember the big shots. So having a guy who can come up clutch is super important for any team.
I'm not sure who Beto has next.
They
Oh, I
they
think
play today actually, and just
yeah,
a
they
quick
did.
little exhibition type thing.
Yeah.
Nothing really crazy. Doesn't look like their starters at a ton. They were up big. No big numbers for their guys. Langston Lovett 20 off the bench, and they really relied on their depth and kind of get a feel for things. Kind of seemed like an exhibition type thing with the way they played their rotation and stuff. But they already got that one out of the park. But I can see they don't have any tough games for a little bit. They got Gardner Webb at home, and then UMKC, I believe, also at home in Waco. So they got a couple games coming up before they head to forgot what tournament they are in. They play Oregon State Thanksgiving week. They are in Brooklyn for I don't know the name of that tournament, but I believe it's a little four-team tournament if I'm correct.
Hmm.
Not sure the other two teams are in that one, but they have Oregon State that game and then some other opponent the following day. So that'll be a big week for them. Big resume winnings. Oregon State's kind of been down, so that's probably not should they should win that game pretty easily. But we'll
Hmm.
see if Oregon State can kind of bounce back after down season.
Things get really tricky once the 16th of December hits for them when they have to play Michigan State and then Duke back-to-back games.
They got it. It gets tough for them before a conference play. That Seton Hall is not going to be an easy game either for them
Hmm.
at home. So it's going to be
What do you
where do
think?
they play those?
What do you
Sorry,
think about the Ivy League matchup against Cornell?
The Ivy Leagues are always tough. Those are, I mean, we see it in the NCAA tournament every year. Like they don't always win, but those Ivy League teams always make it tough. They play good, solid, traditional basketball. They run sets. They play defense. They can make shots, and they're going to make you beat them. They're not going to like play sloppy, turn the ball over, make dumb
Hmm.
mistakes. Like you have to play solid basketball to beat them. So that'll be their last game before conference play, and I think that'll be a good little test for them at home
Hmm.
to get kind of get situated into the Big 12 schedule.
Next, we have the Michigan State James Madison game. Um, this this was a thriller for James Madison, and I feel like they had a great game, especially down the stretch in overtime. They really locked in. I really liked how Terrence Edwards played for JMU, and Raekwon Horton uh, made a fantastic 3-pointer with 8.6 seconds left in overtime, which was a big time shot. Uh, and I uh, I just look at that win for JMU with uh, a great level of respect for them, and I feel like they could pull off much more upsets the way they played against the Spartans, and it's the sky's the limit for them, and anything can happen with them. Just the way they have shown uh, that game.
Definitely. That was super impressive from James Madison. Like you talked about, Bickerstaff Edwards. They made a lot of big plays. They made shots down the stretch, and they got stops on the defensive end. But I think one thing that's very concerning for Michigan State is the perimeter shooting
Hmm.
and just the offense as a whole. Tyson Walker had 35 points. He was 11 for 17 for the free throw line, so he'd like to be a little more efficient there. So he didn't make any threes. He was 0 for 5. But the team as a whole was 1 for 20, I believe, or 1 for 20 from three, and 23 for 37 from the free throw line. So like more people besides Walker were missing free throws, and they just didn't have anyone consistently who could make shots. Malik Hall was 2 for 12. AJ Hogarth 2 for 11 from the field. And like those are two guys along with Tyson Walker who's supposed to. Oh, and I forgot to mention Jaden Akins. He was 2 for 10. Like those are a few guys who are going to need to be relied upon for this team to be good. Michigan State was assaulting in last season. They lost in Sweet 16 to Kansas State, and they brought back a lot of those guys, and people expected them to make a big jump, which is why they were ranked so high. But I think we saw a lot of the same flaws and the reason why they were a lower seed last year. I think they were the 7th seed, if I remember correctly. But Tyson Walker, he makes a lot of big plays. He made some big plays late in this game, but they were not able
Hmm.
to get a victory. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the lack of help around him. And just they won't shoot 1 for 20 again. They hopefully won't shoot that bad again the rest of the season because that's crazy bad. Like you're bound to make a couple more at least, even on an off night. But the 2 for 10, 2 for 11, 2 for 12 from your three kind of guys you would need to rely upon alongside Walker is very, very disappointing. And I think there's a little bit of reason to be concerned. Those are veteran guys. You trust them to make plays. So I don't, like, not overly concerning, but that's something that can't happen again. They have another game today against Southern Indiana. Shouldn't be much of a threat for them, but we'll see how that game goes. Um, and yeah, we'll just have to see. But they got the big game against Duke on Tuesday in
Hmm.
the Champions Classic. So I think that'll be a really good game to kind of see how Michigan State stacks up and if they have the pieces around Tyson Walker to compete and win a game like that early on in the season. And especially in a bounce back way after losing to James Madison the way they did.
Hmm. I actually just pulled up the James Madison schedule, and they have Kent State tonight at Kent State. Uh, and then their next game is Sunday at home against Howard.
Nice. So they got a couple games coming up. And
Hmm.
we'll just see how they go from here. That's a big one to start the season, but honestly, at road games always tough. Kent State's always a solid program, and
Hmm.
James Madison's an underdog tonight. So we'll see if they can get another upset win on the road to kind of keep the momentum rolling. The football team's having a great season, so we'll see if they can kind of do a similar thing in this with this basketball team.
I'll get to my game. Villanova against American. Uh, TJ Mama, Eric Dixon, and Justin Moore were a really good threat to the Villanova offense. Um, Dixon had 15 points from and was 6 for 10 from the field goal, and Mama was decent with 13 points, and he made his only 3-pointer in one of the halves. Uh, I really liked Justin Moore, how physical he was, especially inside of the paint with some great looks. And I think that if he continues to be efficient with what he has been doing, uh, this Villanova team is going to be a really big threat outside of the Big East for teams. And I'm really anxious to see how well they do next week, starting off with UPenn. Um, I know that UPenn is off to a great start, and I feel like that game could go either way, but Villanova just has to be what they have been doing.
Definitely, I agree. Even just the first game, but kind of there, I would say the five best players all scored double figures, which is super encouraging. They shared the ball. They made some shots. Bond was 3 for 3 from deep. Button was 2 for 5. Hart had 11 off the bench. So like everyone chipped in a little bit and did their thing. And I think they're in a really good spot to kind of mix and match, and they have the versatility I think to be fantastic. So good to see a balanced scoring attack in the first game. But we'll see if I think for them, I think Justin Moore is kind of going to need to be that big time player in some big
Hmm.
moments for them. But you mentioned that they got Lemoyne and Penn coming up, a couple more easier games that they should win. But at Penn, it's always an interesting environment there. So no gimmies on the road, especially against
Yeah.
a team that close to home for like that's always the big game for Penn. So they're going to have that circled on their calendar, playing their best. But they do have some tests later in the month, and their December is going to be interesting as well. So a lot of tough games for them. So we'll get to see kind of where this team is at in the non-conference, and as they head into a tough Big East play. They're going to be tested, and it's going to be a really good conference again. And I think they have a chance to compete towards the top of it. But I think a big part of it's going to be if they can get off to a good start this season.
Actually, I'm just looking at the Villanova schedule, and they got December 5th to the 20th. They got some real action with Kansas State, UCLA, and then eighth ranked Creighton.
That'll be a big time test.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that Kansas State's on the road, Creighton's on the road, and then you got UCLA at home. So I mean, it's going to be they're going to be tested, and those are the games that you got to find a way to get some of them. Winning on the road is never easy, especially against a power conference opponent. So we'll see. But I think you really learn where a team's at when they're playing on the road away from home because NCAA tournament, you're not playing in road sites, but you're not in front of your home fans. You're not in your home gym, home arena, and you
Hmm.
got to find a way to be at your best outside of those atmospheres.
Before we move on, I just wanted your prediction for their record for their next 10 games.
Next 10 game, sweet. Let me pull up the schedule real quick. So I'd say the next. I don't remember who's in the Bahamas tournament. So let me pull that up real quick. Oh, if
Villanova plays
they
Texas
play
Tech.
Texas Tech, but there'll be two more games after that. Let me just pull up the bracket real quick. I don't think they lose those next four
Hmm.
though, or any games in November beside that. Just trying to pull up the bracket real quick. Well, I'm well that slow, and I can go ahead and say they'll beat St. Joseph. I think they beat Kansas State and UCLA, but I think
Hmm.
at Creighton, if they're still undefeated at that point, would be a loss. At Creighton would be a loss. And I think they would beat DePaul. So through December, I think Creighton's only lost, but let me pull up this battle for Atlantis because I think there's probably some good teams in it. Um, you got Arkansas's tough, North Carolina's tough, Michigan. I think I would actually pick Villanova to win that bracket, it looks like. I
Hmm.
couldn't remember all the teams, but I think they're better than North Carolina, better than Arkansas. Memphis is tough. And like if you lose a game in that, it's not that big of a deal because those are some really
Yeah.
good basketball teams, and the majority of those teams are NCAA tournament caliber teams. But I think Creighton can be undefeated going into that December 20th game at Creighton. It would be absolutely massive and potentially two very high ranked teams.
Hmm.
We'll see how the season goes for both of them because I think Creighton's got a chance to win a lot of games before that as well.
So you can see Nova go 9-1.
9-1, yeah. I would say just that Creighton game. At Kansas
Yeah.
State will be tough to see how the Cats are playing in a month, and that'll be a big time atmosphere. But I think that's a game Villanova can and will. If I had to pick right now, I would pick at Kansas State. 9-1 would be my prediction.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough test for the Crane game, especially with the roster they have. And I mean, the past years, Villanova had trouble with them. And I'm that's the game that I'm circling on my calendar with. And I'm just really anxious to see how well they can go out to Omaha and how well they do.
Definitely, yeah. Omaha's a very tough place to play, and this Creighton team has a lot of talent. So it'll be very interesting to see how these teams match up. But
Hmm.
they also close the season against each other in Philadelphia. So they start and in conference play against each other. So that'll be interesting to see how both teams can kind of kickstart their Big East play.
Hmm. Um, so want to take the time to talk about your Kansas game team?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So nothing too crazy. Really, really good to see kind of them. The 3-point shooting was fantastic. And like it was super impressive. Let me pull up the numbers, but while I'm pulling that up, they really did a good job getting Hunter Dickinson to basketball early. He made a big impact. He had like 11 points in the first few minutes and finished with
Hmm.
21, 8, and 5. But the big stat that really stands out to me, DeJuan Harris, the point guard, he took 0 shots, 0 shot attempts. He had 10 assists. He was just absolutely fantastic. Just the spacing on this team, the shooting's a question mark, but they took and made a lot of threes. They went 13 for 23. They may not shoot that good again this season, but when they can, I think they're basically unbeatable because Dixon can just dominate the low post. Kevin McCullough played a fantastic game, one of his best offensive games as a Jayhawk.
Hmm.
KJ Adams kind of fit into a nice role alongside Hunter. So overall, super impressed with the way they played. You got productive minutes off the bench from Nick Timberlake, Parker Braun, and Johnny Furphy, which those 8 guys and those 3 in the starters, that's the 8 guys you need to kind of win with. So super impressed with all them. I just think the offense as a whole, the playmaking ability from some guys. McCullough had 5 assists, DeJuan had 10, but Hunter Dickinson also had 5 assists. I just think getting him the ball kind of in the post, allowing him to kind of dish off to teammates is going to be something that's really tough for teams to defend. And teams are going to have to find a way to do that because Bill Self is just super creative with his big man. I think he's going to get the best out of this team. So I'm super excited to see kind of how this team fares early on in the season. And I think the Kentucky game is going to be a really good test for that next week.
What do you think about December 1st against UConn?
That'll be a tough one. Interesting. I haven't got a chance to watch Connecticut play this season, but I think they have a lot of good pieces, and it's always tough how to judge a team coming off a national title. But I think they have a chance to be really good this season and compete again.
Hmm.
I so I think that's at home at Allen Fieldhouse. That's a game KU's got to win. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be easy. Connecticut has a lot of good pieces, and I think in the next couple of weeks we'll kind of get a feel for to see where both teams are at because UConn goes to Indiana. I think it's
Hmm.
actually at Indiana. I need to check if it's neutral site. I
It's
believe it's
actually
at Indiana.
it's actually at UConn.
Oh, it's MSG actually. MSG it looks
Yeah,
like. So
MSG.
that'll
Yeah.
be MSG. So it is a neutral site game. So that'll be a good test for UConn. So UConn is Indiana neutral site, and then KU is Kentucky on a neutral site in the next week or so. So we'll get to see both teams in a big game before that UConn Kansas game, and I think that game will be a big one to kind of kickstart because December is when you get tested a little more and kind of really start to lock in before conference play. So both
Mhm.
teams will get a big test before they start to move towards those games.
Yeah, I'm actually just looking at the UConn schedule and starting off with the big one at you guys on December 1st. And then that following Tuesday, they are home against number 19, North Carolina. And then another big one, December 15th, at home against 11 ranked Gonzaga.
The tough one, yeah. Coming off a national championship, they hardly made sure that this team's going to be tested in the
Mhm.
non-conference, which is super important for every team. But I mean, they kind of want to know where they're at early in the season. Coming off the national championship, you can kind of I don't know, not lazy is the right word, but you can kind of just kind of go through the motions, but get tested off the bat and make the changes you need heading into conference play. So I'm super excited. Gonzaga, not many teams will play at Gonzaga. You got North Carolina at home and at Kansas. Like they are loading up that December slate, and towards the back end of December, you got some conference games as well. So going to be very interesting to see how these games shape up.
Uh, I know that since you made the prediction for the next 10 games, you made a prediction for my Villanova team. So in a follow up, I'll do the same for your Kansas team and see how you like my predictions.
We
So I'm gonna start with Manhattan. That's a win. Easy win. You guys
nice.
will kill them. Kentucky. I think you guys have the edge of that game. Uh,
There we go.
Kentucky. So that's 2-0. Chaminade 3-0.
So I have the bracket pulled up if you want to know. The next game would be against UCLA or Marquette if
Yeah.
you want to predict that one.
UCLA, Marquette. I feel like you guys could maybe lose to Marquette.
Okay, that one has shocked me.
Yeah.
But then after that, it would probably be so the top half's Tennessee, Syracuse, Purdue, Gonzaga.
Hmm.
So if you have us losing to Marquette, we could probably play. I don't even know, some combination of Tennessee or Purdue would be my guess.
Yeah. And then the November 20th, Chaminade. That's an easy win. So and then the 28th, Eastern Illinois. That's a win. So is that like 6-1 or something?
Yeah,
Okay. Um, you guys beat UConn 7-1, beat Kansas City 8-1. Missouri, you guys beat them 9-1. So basically the same as what you predicted for my Nova team.
nice. Yeah, I think both these teams are more than capable of getting off to that big start.
What do you think about the Big 12 as a whole?
Super. I think it's gonna be really good. I don't really see a ton of elite teams. I think Houston has a chance to compete with Kansas for the title, but outside of that, I really don't think anyone's on that level of a Final Four contender. I
Hmm.
think Texas is a second weekend team. Um, Iowa State's a tournament team. Kansas State should be a tournament team. Definitely forgetting someone who's really good too. I think Texas Tech's a tournament team. Baylor's who I'm forgetting, but I think Baylor's a second weekend team, maybe a Final Four sleeper. I don't think they quite have the pieces for that, but we'll see. I think overall it's going to be a typical Big 12. Kansas and Houston should be at the top. A lot of
Hmm.
tournament teams, and I think the bottom's going to be pretty decent. I expect most of the. I think BYU can be a tournament team-ish. They're usually pretty solid. I think Cincinnati and UCF should struggle a little bit, but think most of the old teams should be solid. TCU's got some good pieces. Oklahoma State got some solid guys. So I think overall the depth of the league is going to be very, very good. But I think it may lack some of the elite teams outside of Kansas. But we'll see if Houston can kind of be on that level with them. Or maybe a team like Texas or Baylor could kind of surprise and make that jump that they're not projected to by me, at least right now.
Are you going to be keeping an eye on any mid-major games?
Nothing too much. Definitely, I'll definitely tune in to some of them when over Thanksgiving week is
Mm-hmm.
kind of really when I kind of focus in on see when these teams are kind of getting tested. I don't see a ton right off the bat. 'Cause I don't. The one we got FAU and Loyola Chicago last night. I was super impressed with Florida Atlantic winning by it was like 15 or so. So really, really good for them to win the big kind of a big game to start the season for them,
Mm-hmm.
which is not an easy game at all. But I think definitely Thanksgiving week is when we can kind of start to see some of the mid majors kind of get a chance to really shine. I'm really looking forward. We've talked about Tulane a little bit. The American Conference has a lot of good teams at the top, especially as they brought in, I think it was a few of the top teams from Conference USA. I think the
Mm-hmm.
American Conference has a chance to be really, really good and have a handful of NCAA tournament caliber teams. I don't know if they can all get in with resume and scheduling wise, but I think 4 or 5 teams who are very good. So I think it's going to be super important to see how these teams all play in the non-conference because they need to get quality wins. And like we talked about, Tulane's got Northwestern State tonight. Those teams like them, Wichita State, like they can't afford bad losses in a non-conference either because at the end of the day, like a bad loss here is going to hurt their resume a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Another big game I'm super excited for: Memphis at Missouri for tomorrow night. I think that's a really good test for Memphis. This is a team that we've seen in the NCAA tournament a few times over recent years, and I think a game at Missouri is a big resume builder for them and a chance to really kind of show people this Memphis team is really good. And we also got UAB has Clemson tomorrow as well. So Conference USA games tomorrow are kind of the more notable ones for me to keep an eye on.
Speaking of Tulane, what is your prediction for their next 10 games?
Let me take a peek real quick. I think they can win a lot of them. I think they have a chance to. Yeah, I've got Northwestern State, Sacramento State. I'd say 2 wins. I would probably pick Bradley to beat them, but that would be a super interesting game. I would take Bradley. So let's say they're 3-1 at that point, and 4-1. Fordham's not easy, but I think Tulane can get that game on the road. So let's say 5-1. They lose to Mississippi State. I think they lose to Furman. Um, but I think after that they can win a few games and put them at 7-3 probably in their first 10, which is not great. I think they may need to find a way to get that to 8-2 or 9-1 for their
Mm-hmm.
NCAA tournament hopes. But I think this guy is very winnable. They got to take care of business. I think Bradley's the big
Yeah.
one for them NCAA tournament resume wise, and Mississippi State's a big chance, big opportunity for them. But I think that's a winnable game, and Furman as well. Big
Mm-hmm.
game for them. And I think Tulane's got a shot to be really good. We talked about them a lot. Love Ron Hunter. Love what he's doing down there. And first year in the American Conference, NCAA tournament is not impossible. I would say it's not super likely unless
Mm-hmm.
they get the auto bid, but I think they have the pieces to be really good in that conference. And these games in November, December are super important. Like they're important for every team seeding, all that, but like mid majors like these teams in the American Conference, it's super important because we've seen how much of a struggle it's been for Memphis to make the NCAA tournament consistently, even though they've been winning a lot of games. The American should be better. They lose Houston, who's like that top dog, but there's more quality. There's a larger number of quality win opportunities with some higher quality teams coming in. So we'll get to see how these teams perform, but definitely keep an eye on. I think Tulane get off to a hot start, and I'll definitely be tuned into that Bradley game, and I think it's a couple weeks from now.
It's actually next Monday.
Next month. Oh, it is. I read that date
Yeah.
wrong. Let's go. That'll be a really good one.
On CBS Sportsnet.
Sweet. Oh, late game. I see.
10:30.
10:30 Eastern. Let's go. Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
up watching that one, and I'll be excited.
Go Bull Wave.
Oh yeah, I always root for them. Super
Yeah.
cool, and always wish them the best. That the same night that Chiefs play the Eagles too?
Oh, I didn't even. No,
I think
I don't think so. The
I'd have to check.
13th.
14th. Oh,
The
I think mine says Tulane Bradley's the 20th.
oh, actually, you might be right.
Yeah, so
I might got it. I got confused for a second.
so we'll get to watch our Chiefs and Eagles battle it out, and then we got a great mid-major basketball game to watch afterwards.
The so the Eagles Chiefs game is on the 20th.
I believe so. I honestly haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure we both play after the bye.
I'm checking the college basketball schedule for the 20th to see what games we got. Oh wow.
Some good games.
Holy God. We got oh my I'm
Oh, the
I'm really
national starts that day.
yeah.
Oh gosh,
Starting with Tennessee Syracuse
let's
and
go.
then at 5 p.m. Eastern, Purdue Gonzaga.
Dang.
And at 7 p.m. the Wildcat Challenge, St. Joe's St. Joe's against Kentucky,
Nice.
and you guys against Chaminade. And to cap off the day, 11:30 p.m. Eastern, UCLA Marquette.
Yeah, so that's a big day. I for the Maui Invitational starts on a Monday. Let's go. That's kind of
That
hype.
night is gonna be bonkers.
So much going on. I'm gonna have like 4 TVs posted up in the living room somehow.
the The question is, am I going to be working that afternoon and might have to miss the Tennessee game?
Oh yeah, that would be would be tough, but I'd more
But
excited for the late games anyway. Purdue Gonzaga should be a good one. Let's go Zags.
is there any good? Let me see. Oh, we got a bunch of the Sunshine Slam, Fort Myers Tip Off, Cayman Islands Classic.
What day?
The 20th.
20th? Oh, this is a lot more. I only pulled up top 25 games. So yeah, there's a lot of games in the morning that day.
Yeah.
Should be super exciting.
Oh, there's a 12:30 a.m. game.
Really? Who is it?
California. It's California against UTEP
Dang.
following the Tulane game.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it showing up on? It's after
Yeah, if you go to
the.
uh, NCAA Division One on on the ESPN app,
Okay.
and to go along with that, there is a mid-major game at 11 p.m., which is North Dakota against Pacific.
Dang, that's crazy. Now
Yeah,
my app says Cal UTEP's the 21st. I mean, it is technically going to be played on the 21st. It just took me a second to find it.
yeah,
So that'll be
it's gonna be
Cal's
the same night
got a couple nice pieces.
technically.
Yeah, late one.
Yeah,
Is it? It's wait, where is it played at? In California?
it's being played in the
The same spot, yeah. So
same spot.
it's a late one. It's wild. I love it. If I'm up, I'll be watching it.
I'm up at that time anyway.
Got a little bit of basketball. This is what chilling before bed.
Yeah.
Oh, and I see they do the same thing the next day. I was just looking through the
Oh,
week. There's a
1:30 a.m.
if I was the next day Hawaii. That's crazy.
I'm curious. I'm curious to see how Toledo does against New Mexico
Oh yeah, that'll be a really good one. New Mexico has a big game tonight.
tonight.
Yeah,
Tonight at
if
10 p.m. Eastern.
is it actually at St. Mary's? I think it is.
I think
That'll
it
be a
is.
really good game. Definitely be following along for that one. So like, there's a lot of good games kid is going this
Oh,
season.
it's in Moraga, California,
Oh, nice.
at the University Credit Union Pavilion.
Oh, okay, good stuff. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's a big one.
it's definitely going to be a very hectic week, especially next week.
Oh yeah,
We
that'll be.
we might have to squeeze in an episode.
Oh yeah, well, hopefully we can find the time to make it work because there'll be a lot of games to discuss.
Yeah. So before we end the episode, we are doing the bets of the episode.
So
Uh, I have to look back to see who I picked last episode. So, as of now, I'm just gonna pick the games that I like for this episode,
okay,
and then we definitely need to take the time to like organize this.
I can get working on that. Probably, I can do that tomorrow. I got
Okay,
a little bit of time. Yeah,
okay.
there's a lot of good games.
Um, I might have to do.
I'm looking at some games for next week. I might do a couple days
Okay,
for
I have
this.
my three. I have
Oh,
my three.
I go for it.
Okay. I am going to go with Houston money line against Stetson. Miami money line against FIU, and Villanova money line against Penn.
Okay, sweet. Taking some favorites. I like it. All right, and I will. I'll probably do a couple I'm gonna do some Tuesday games. I'm gonna do Kansas over Kentucky,
Hmm.
Duke over Michigan State, and then I'm gonna do Marquette winning at Illinois. Those my three games are Tuesdays. I think all yours were Monday.
Since next week is a big slate of games each day, want to do a bonus bet and add to our three?
I'm down with that. More in there. What other games do I want to pick?
I am going to do Creighton money line against Iowa.
I like that one. I was peeking at that one. I'm gonna add a big game for tomorrow night. I'm going to pick. I'm gonna pick Duke twice in my
Mhm.
bet. I'm gonna pick Duke over Arizona to get it started for me as my fourth game. I think Arizona's really good, so I'm interested to see how that game shapes. I think Duke gets them.
It should be a very hectic and fun week.
It's
Uh,
gonna be a
Starting
blast.
next week.
Heck yeah,
Um,
I'm
yeah, I'm gonna be like watching like six six different games at once. Uh,
It's gonna be tough to follow them
yeah,
all.
yeah, but at least it won't be overwhelming. I
No.
mean, I mean, it might feel overwhelming, but it's 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 the fun part about college basketball.
Oh yeah. So rather have too many games to choose from than
Yeah,
not have enough. So we'll just have to decide what games are most exciting.
sounds good. This has been episode number 56. Uh, can't wait to talk about the games in the near future.
Definitely, yes, sir.